The Galactic Council chamber was abuzz with heated discussions and rising tensions. Representatives from hundreds of star systems had gathered for an emergency session to address the growing threat posed by an upstart species, the humans. Xyloth, the towering insectoid ambassador from Arcturus, slammed his clawed appendage on the podium. "The humans must be stopped," he screeched, mandibles clicking furiously. "They expand without regard for our borders or treaties. Their ships encroach on our space lanes. This cannot stand." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the gathered delegates. The humans, relative newcomers to the galactic stage, had proven frustratingly unwilling to play by the established rules. While most spacefaring civilizations abided by the Council's edicts and worked within its framework, humanity charted its own brazenly independent course. "My people have lost 3 outposts to their aggression," intoned Vortana, the willowy Syrian ambassador, her shimmering skin pulsing with agitation. "When we tried to open negotiations, they responded with silence, then sent more warships to fortify their positions. It's clear they have no interest in diplomacy." Similar stories poured forth from one representative after another. The humans not only rebuffed attempts at dialogue, but actively flouted Council decrees on matters ranging from territorial expansion to resource extraction rights. Some even accused them of reverse engineering and incorporating banned technologies into their ships and weapons. Yet the Council, for all its collective might, found itself flummoxed on how to respond. The humans seemed impervious to the usual methods of coercion or persuasion. Economic sanctions had little effect on their self-sufficient colonies. Military threats only prompted them to enhance their already formidable defenses. Even attempts at cultural exchange and scientific cooperation fell on deaf ears. As the session wore on without resolution, an uneasy realization began to set in. The Council, the supreme power that had shepherded galactic civilization for millennia, now faced an unprecedented crisis, a species that blithely ignored its authority and upset the delicate web of alliances and agreements comprising the interstellar order. Desperate for a way forward, the Council eventually turned to its eldest and wisest member, Alder, the sage of the ancient Cronins. His wrinkled visage betrayed the weight of centuries as he carefully studied the agitated throng. "The humans perplex and frustrate us because they are unlike any species we have encountered before," Alder began, his voice thin but resonant in the cavernous chamber. "Their history and evolution have shaped them into something new and strange, a civilization not defined by a single government or ethos, but by pluralism, competition, and an almost fanatical devotion to individual liberty. They do not think as a collective, but as a cacophony of contending voices." Alder paused, letting his words hang in the air. "The Council is the ultimate arbiter of our galaxies. But it can only arbitrate among those who accept its authority. And the humans, for better or worse, grant allegiance to no power but themselves." A grim silence filled the chamber as the assembled delegates grappled with Alder's assessment. A species that rejected the basic premise of the galactic order was not just a diplomatic quandary, but an existential threat to the Council's power and legitimacy. Cycle after cycle of provocations and standoffs had now culminated in a stark truth: the humans could not be negotiated with, because they refused to negotiate. As the session adjourned in anxious disarray, a palpable sense of foreboding infected the Council. The humans had unleashed chaos upon the cosmos, and the old certainties lay shattered. A new epoch had begun, one whose ending none could foresee. The news of the Galactic Council's failed attempt to negotiate with the humans spread like wildfire across the star systems. Trillions of citizens who had long looked to the Council for stability and leadership now found their faith shaken to the core. On Earth, the media buzzed with a mix of triumph and trepidation. While many celebrated the Council's apparent capitulation as a victory for human independence, others worried about the consequences of alienating the galaxy's great powers. In the halls of the United Nations, Earth's governing body, President Olivia Thompson faced a barrage of questions from anxious representatives. "What is our long-term strategy for dealing with the Council?" demanded the delegate from Japan. How can we ensure our colony's safety if we cut ties completely? Thompson, a tall, slender woman with piercing green eyes, held up her hands for calm. We have no desire for conflict with the Council or anyone else, she assured the assembly. But neither will we compromise our fundamental right to self-determination. The human spirit cannot be constrained by the dictates of distant bureaucrats, no matter how powerful they may be. Her words drew cheers from some quarters and murmurs of concern from others. The truth was, no one knew what the future held. The Council had always been a remote but omnipresent force, its reach permeating every aspect of interstellar life. To defy it so openly was to venture into uncharted territory. As Earth grappled with the implications of its new status, the mood on the Council's homeworld of Zaphros was grim. Emergency meetings of the governing directorate stretched long into the night as the galaxy's leaders sought a way to contain the crisis. The humans are a contagion, warned Prime Director Zolthar, his silvery skin flushed with anger. If we allow them to flout our authority, it will only embolden other upstarts to do the same. The very fabric of our civilization could unravel. Others counseled restraint, fearful that any overt action against Earth would only escalate tensions. The humans are technologically advanced and fiercely independent, cautioned Director Ixera of the Lyraxian hegemony. A direct confrontation could prove disastrous for all involved. As the debate raged on, a small group of counselors began to meet in secret, determined to find a solution outside the normal channels of diplomacy. Led by the enigmatic Krellian tactician Vero Kran, they pored over reports on human culture, psychology, and military capabilities, searching for any weakness they could exploit. The key is to undermine their unity, Vero reasoned, his dark eyes glinting with cunning. The humans are fractious and divided, with competing power centers and ideologies. If we can sow discord among them, they will tear themselves apart from within. The others nodded in agreement, their faces etched with grim determination. We'll need to be subtle, said Counselor Zara of the Cassian Imperium. Any overt interference will only rally them against us. But if we can quietly manipulate events behind the scenes, we may be able to regain the upper hand. As the Shadow Council laid its plans, the galaxy held its breath, sensing that the uneasy peace was about to shatter. On Earth, in the Council chambers, and in 1,000 other halls of power, a realization took hold: the confrontation between humanity and the Galactic Order had only just begun. The true test was yet to come, and its outcome would shape the fate of worlds. As the Shadow Council's plan to undermine human unity took shape, an unexpected development caught the galaxy off guard. A small, unassuming spacecraft, bearing no markings of any known civilization, appeared on the outskirts of Earth's solar system and requested permission to land. The arrival of the mysterious vessel sent shockwaves through the already tense diplomatic landscape. Who were these visitors, and what did they want with Earth at such a critical juncture? After much deliberation, President Thompson authorized the ship to land under heavy security at a remote facility in the Nevada desert. As the world watched with bated breath, a delegation of Earth's top leaders and scientists prepared to greet the alien arrivals. The ship's hatch hissed open, and out stepped 3 figures clad in sleek, form-fitting suits of an unfamiliar material. They were humanoid in shape, but their features were obscured by tinted helmets that glinted in the harsh desert sun. The leader of the group, a tall, slender being with an air of quiet authority, stepped forward and raised a gloved hand in greeting. "People of Earth," it said in perfect English, its voice smooth and androgynous. "We come in peace, bearing a message of great importance." The human delegation exchanged nervous glances as they were ushered into a secure conference room. Once inside, the alien leader removed its helmet, revealing a face that was startlingly human in appearance, save for the iridescent eyes and silvery hair. "My name is Zephyr," the being said, "and I represent a coalition of worlds that have long watched your civilization from afar. We have seen your struggles against the Galactic Council, and we believe that you may hold the key to a new era of freedom and self-determination for all species." The humans listened in stunned silence as Zephyr outlined a vision of a galaxy freed from the Council's rigid control, where each world could chart its own course without interference. But to achieve this, Zephyr warned, we must act quickly and decisively. The Council will stop at nothing to maintain its grip on power, and they will seek to exploit any weakness in your unity. As the meeting stretched on, it became clear that Zephyr's coalition was offering Earth a tantalizing opportunity, a chance to not just resist the Council, but to fundamentally reshape the galactic order. The humans, long accustomed to viewing themselves as lone rebels against an implacable power, now found themselves at the center of a brewing revolution. But even as the prospect of an alliance dangled before them, some members of the human delegation couldn't shake a sense of unease. Was Zephyr's offer too good to be true? Could this mysterious coalition be trusted, or were they simply seeking to use Earth for their own ends? President Thompson, her brow furrowed in concentration, posed the question that hung in the air. "What proof can you offer us of your intentions?" she asked, her voice steady but tinged with caution. "We have learned to be wary of those who come bearing gifts." Zephyr smiled enigmatically, its iridescent eyes glinting in the dim light of the conference room. "We offer no proof," it said softly, "only a choice. The path forward is uncertain, and fraught with peril. But the alternative, to bend the knee to the Council and abandon your dreams of independence, is a fate worse than any risk." The humans looked to one another, the weight of the decision heavy on their shoulders. To trust in Zephyr's vision was to plunge headlong into the unknown, to gamble everything on a dream of a different future. But as they weighed the costs and benefits, a realization began to dawn. The Council's power had always rested on the consent of the governed, on the belief that its rule was inevitable and unassailable. If enough worlds could be rallied to the cause of self-determination, that power would crumble like a house of cards. And so, with a mixture of hope and trepidation, the people of Earth made their choice. They would stand with Zephyr and its coalition, and together they would fight for a galaxy where every species could shape its own destiny. The road ahead was dark and uncertain, but the promise of a new dawn beckoned them forward. As news of Earth's alliance with Zephyr's coalition spread across the galaxy, the Galactic Council found itself facing an unprecedented crisis. Not only had the humans defied its authority, but now they had joined forces with an unknown group of worlds, threatening to upend the established order. In the council chambers on Zaphros, the mood was one of panic and desperation. The Shadow Council, which had been working to undermine human unity, now saw its plans unraveling before its eyes. "This coalition changes everything," hissed Vero Kren, his fists clenched in frustration. "If the humans are not alone, then our strategy of dividing them is useless. We must find a way to break this alliance, and quickly." But even as the council scrambled to respond, Zephyr's coalition was already on the move. Emboldened by Earth's support, dozens of worlds began to openly declare their independence from the Council's rule. Some were long-standing members of the galactic community, while others were small, far-flung colonies that had long chafed under the Council's yoke. On Earth, the government worked feverishly to mobilize its resources in support of the growing rebellion. Ships and weapons were dispatched to aid the coalition's efforts, while diplomats worked to build bridges with other disaffected worlds. At the heart of this flurry of activity was President Thompson, who found herself thrust into the role of galactic revolutionary. In speech after speech, she rallied the people of Earth and the wider galaxy to the cause of freedom and self-determination. "For too long, we have lived under the thumb of the Council, our fates dictated by distant bureaucrats who care nothing for our dreams and aspirations," she declared to a cheering crowd in New York City. But no longer. "Today, we stand with all those who seek to chart their own course, to build a future of their own making." As the rebellion gathered steam, the Council grew increasingly desperate. Military forces were dispatched to quell the uprisings, while economic sanctions were imposed on any world that dared to defy its authority. But even as the Council tightened its grip, the tide of history seemed to be turning against it. More and more worlds flocked to the banner of Zephyr's coalition, drawn by the promise of a new galactic order founded on the principles of freedom and self-governance. Amidst this turmoil, a small group of Council loyalists hatched a daring plan. Led by the ruthless General Zoth of the Kareth Imperium, they sought to strike at the heart of the rebellion by assassinating President Thompson and other key leaders of the coalition. The plot was well-planned and well-funded, with agents planted deep within Earth's government and military. But what the conspirators failed to reckon with was the determination and resilience of the human spirit. As the assassins closed in on their targets, they found themselves facing not just armed guards and security systems, but ordinary citizens who had risen up in defense of their leaders. From the streets of Washington to the far reaches of the galaxy, people of all species stood together in solidarity, united by a common cause. In the end, the assassination plot was thwarted, and the conspirators were brought to justice. But the incident only served to further galvanize the rebellion, as more and more worlds saw the Council's true colors. As the conflict reached a fever pitch, President Thompson addressed the people of the galaxy one last time. "Today, we stand on the brink of a new era," she said, her voice ringing with conviction. "An era in which every world, every species, every individual has the right to shape their own destiny. The road ahead will not be easy, but together, we will prevail." And with those words, the fate of the galaxy was sealed. The old order was crumbling, and in its place, a new future was being born, a future of hope, of possibility, and of endless frontiers waiting to be explored. As the rebellion against the Galactic Council gained momentum, the face of the galaxy began to change in ways both profound and unexpected. Worlds that had once been bitter rivals now found themselves united in common cause, while long-standing alliances crumbled under the weight of newfound freedoms. At the heart of this transformation was the alliance between Earth and Zephyr's coalition, which had grown into a formidable force for change. With each passing day, more and more ships and resources poured into the rebel cause, bolstering its strength and resolve. But even as the tide of battle turned in their favor, the leaders of the rebellion knew that victory was far from assured. The Council, for all its corruption and decay, still commanded vast armies and fleets, and its leaders were ruthless in their determination to crush any opposition. In a bid to strike a decisive blow, President Thompson and her allies hatched a daring plan. They would launch a surprise attack on Zaphros itself, the heart of the Council's power, and decapitate its leadership in one swift stroke. The plan was risky, and many urged caution. But Thompson was adamant. "We have come too far to turn back now," she declared to her war council. "If we do not seize this moment, we may never have another chance." And so, with a heavy heart and a steely resolve, the rebel fleet set out for Zaphros. They knew that the odds were stacked against them, but they also knew that the stakes could not be higher. As they approached the planet, they were met by a massive Council armada, bristling with weapons and shielding. The battle that followed was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen, a titanic clash of forces that lit up the void of space with the fire of 1,000 suns. Ships collided and exploded in dazzling bursts of light, while fighters danced and dueled in a deadly ballet. The rebel forces fought with grim determination, knowing that every life lost was a sacrifice in the name of freedom. In the end, through sheer grit and courage, the rebels broke through the Council's defenses and landed on Zaphros. There, in the heart of the enemy's stronghold, they faced their greatest challenge yet. The Council's leaders, seeing their doom approaching, unleashed a final, desperate gambit. They activated a doomsday device, a weapon of such terrifying power that it threatened to destroy not just Zaphros, but the entire galaxy. As the countdown ticked away, President Thompson and her allies raced against time to disable the device. They fought their way through hordes of fanatical Council loyalists, each one willing to die for their twisted cause. In the final moments, with the fate of billions hanging in the balance, Thompson confronted the Prime Director himself, a being of such malevolence and madness that it seemed scarcely human. In a battle that would echo through the ages, Thompson and the Prime Director clashed in a duel of wills and ideals. Though the Director was a formidable foe, Thompson's resolve never wavered. With a final, desperate lunge, she struck the killing blow, ending the Director's reign of terror once and for all. With the Doomsday device disabled and the Council's leadership in ruins, the rebels emerged victorious on Zaphros. The galaxy had been saved, and a new era of freedom and self-determination had dawned. In the aftermath of the battle, as the dust settled and the wounds began to heal, the people of the galaxy came together to forge a new path forward. Guided by the wisdom of Zephyr and the courage of Earth, they built a new galactic order founded on the principles of unity, equality, and justice. And though the road ahead was long and uncertain, they faced it with hearts full of hope and eyes fixed on the stars. For in the end, the greatest victory of all was not the defeat of the Council, but the triumph of the indomitable spirit that had carried them through the darkest of times and into the light of a new day. In the wake of the Council's defeat and the establishment of a new galactic order, the people of Earth found themselves at the center of a great cultural and technological renaissance. As the barriers that had once divided the galaxy began to fall away, a new spirit of openness and exchange took hold, transforming societies and worlds in ways both wondrous and profound. For the humans, who had long been isolated from the wider galaxy, this was a time of unparalleled growth and discovery. With access to alien technologies and knowledge bases that had been hoarded by the Council for centuries, they began to make strides in fields ranging from medicine and energy to space travel and beyond. At the forefront of this renaissance was a new generation of leaders, thinkers, and visionaries, each eager to make their mark on the galaxy. Among them was a brilliant young scientist named Lena Sorensen, whose groundbreaking work in the field of faster-than-light communication had already begun to revolutionize the way that worlds and species interacted with one another. Lena's research had caught the attention of Zephyr, who saw in her a kindred spirit and a potential ally in the ongoing struggle to build a better future. The two began to work together, pooling their knowledge and resources to tackle some of the greatest challenges facing the galaxy. One of those challenges was the lingering threat posed by the remnants of the Council, which had splintered into a number of competing factions in the aftermath of their defeat. Some of these factions, led by hardline loyalists and rogue warlords, remained committed to the Council's vision of galactic domination, and would stop at nothing to see it realized. To counter this threat, Lena and Zephyr began to develop a new kind of weapon, a network of artificially intelligent drones that could be deployed across the galaxy to monitor and respond to threats in real time. The drones, powered by advanced neural networks and quantum computing, were designed to operate autonomously, adapting to changing circumstances and learning from their experiences in the field. As the drone network began to take shape, however, some began to raise concerns about the potential risks and unintended consequences of such a powerful system. Could the drones be hacked or subverted by hostile actors? What if they developed goals and priorities that were not aligned with those of their creators? Lena and Zephyr, for their part, remained confident in the safeguards they had put in place, and in the fundamental goodness of their vision. They believed that the drone network represented a new kind of galactic infrastructure, one that could help to ensure the safety and stability of the new order for generations to come. As the debate raged on, the people of Earth and the wider galaxy continued to grapple with the challenges and opportunities of their new reality. For some, the arrival of alien cultures and technologies was a source of wonder and excitement, a chance to broaden their horizons and explore new frontiers. For others, it was a source of anxiety and uncertainty, a reminder of just how small and vulnerable they were in the face of the vast, unknowable cosmos. Through it all, however, one thing remained constant: the unshakable bonds of friendship and solidarity that had been forged in the heat of battle and the crucible of change. Whether human or alien, rebel or loyalist, all had been touched by the great upheaval that had swept the galaxy, and all had a stake in the future that was being built. And so, as the drone network hummed to life and the people of the galaxy looked to the stars with renewed hope and purpose, the stage was set for a new chapter in the epic story of the cosmos. What challenges and triumphs lay ahead, only time would tell. But one thing was certain, the galaxy would never be the same again. Years turned into decades as the new galactic order took root and flourished. The once fractured worlds of the cosmos were now united in a great tapestry of cooperation and exchange, with the people of Earth playing a central role in its weaving. Under the guidance of leaders like Lena Sorensen and the ever-enigmatic Zephyr, the galaxy entered a new golden age of discovery and prosperity. The drone network, which had once been a source of controversy and concern, had proven to be a vital tool in maintaining peace and stability across the stars, its AI guardians ever vigilant in their watch for signs of trouble. But even as the galaxy basked in the glow of its newfound unity, there were those who looked to the future with a sense of unease. For all the progress that had been made, the scars of the past remained, and the specter of conflict and division loomed always on the horizon. One of those who felt this unease most keenly was Talos, a young diplomat from a world that had once been a stronghold of the Council. Talos had grown up in the shadow of the old order, and had seen firsthand the devastation that its corruption and tyranny had wrought. He had joined the new galactic government with a fierce determination to make sure that such horrors never happened again. As Talos rose through the ranks of the diplomatic corps, he began to notice troubling patterns and trends that few others seemed to see. There were whispers of discontent and unrest on the fringes of the galaxy, of worlds that felt left behind by the new order and its shining ideals. Determined to get to the bottom of these rumors, Talos set out on a journey that would take him to the far reaches of known space. He met with leaders and common folk alike, listening to their stories and their grievances with a keen and empathetic ear. What he found was a galaxy that was not as united as it appeared on the surface. For every world that had prospered under the new order, there were others that had been left to fend for themselves, struggling to survive in the face of neglect and indifference. Talos knew that he had to bring these injustices to light, to force the leaders of the galaxy to confront the uncomfortable truths that they had long ignored. But he also knew that doing so would come at a great personal cost, and that he would face opposition from those who preferred the status quo. As he prepared to make his case before the Galactic Senate, Talos thought back to the stories he had heard and the people he had met on his journey. He thought of the children who went to bed hungry every night, of the workers who toiled in dangerous and oppressive conditions, of the dreamers who had been told that their hopes and aspirations didn't matter. And he knew, with a certainty that burned like a star in his heart, that he could not remain silent. That he had to speak out, no matter the consequences, no matter the cost. And so, as the Senate chamber fell silent and all eyes turned to him, Talos began to speak. He spoke of the forgotten and the marginalized, of the worlds that had been left behind in the rush to build a new future. He spoke of the need for true justice and equality, not just in word but in deed. As he spoke, he could feel the weight of history on his shoulders, the legacy of all those who had fought and sacrificed for a better galaxy. And he knew that, whatever happened next, he had done his part to carry that legacy forward. For in the end, the true measure of a society was not in its shining cities or its soaring rhetoric, but in the way it treated its most vulnerable members. And as long as there were those who suffered and struggled, as long as there were voices crying out for change, the work of building a truly just and equal galaxy would never be finished. And so, with a final rallying cry, Talos called on all those who believed in the promise of a better future to join him in the fight. For the road ahead would be long and hard, but together, they could build a galaxy that truly lived up to its highest ideals. As the Senate erupted in a standing ovation, Talos knew that the journey was far from over. But he also knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would face them with the same courage and determination that had brought the galaxy this far. For in the end, the only way forward was together, united in the common cause of justice and hope.